Hey guys, MojoK here. I'm actually very excited about making this video because it has a lot to do with Final Fantasy IV, which happens to be my favorite Final Fantasy of all time. There's a few new characters coming our way, but also there's existing characters that are getting their next level of evolution or star, which I'm really excited about. So really quick, we'll talk about the new units and then we'll go into a little bit more detail in just a little bit. So the obligatory base 5-star that goes to 6-star unit is Paladin Cecil. If you couldn't figure out by the name, this is the same person as the regular Cecil or Paladin Cecil that we have currently, but this is Cecil in the beginning of the game when he starts out kind of as a bad guy. Not necessarily a bad person, but he's on the wrong side of things. Don't want to do too many spoilers, even though it's an old game. But kind of an interesting character in this game. He has really good attack. He actually has the second highest attack even now in Japan, stat-wise. But his abilities are a little bit difficult, as they often are, even in Record Keeper, because he keeps hurting himself. Again, we'll go into more detail in just a little bit, but his Trustmaster reward, Deathbringer, is amazing. Rosa is our next good white mage. Starts out at 4 stars, goes to 5. Now, if you judge based on all of the skills and the totality that she has, you might conclude that somebody like Lena is still better. And you're probably right overall, and even the Japan ratings would agree with you. In Japan, Lena's at 85 and Rosa's at 80. But as I'll argue in just a little bit, there are reasons to have her over Lena, depending on your party composition. And her Trustmaster reward as well is really good. 91 attack bow, plus 40 spirit, which is perfect for her because she needs both attack and spirit, where she can at least make effective use of them. Okay, I didn't know he was on the banner, but Cecil, Paladin Cecil, is the unit that's been there from the beginning of the game. He starts out at 3 stars, goes all the way to 6 stars now. And we're going to have another chance to farm up the 6-star awakening materials. I don't want to get too deep into it right now because we're going to go character by character, but his Trustmaster reward obviously is still an amazing sword. It's no longer the highest, it's tied with Dark Cecil's sword, so it's kind of a choice between light elemental and dark, although the dark one could be better because it also has Maneater, which is amazing. Edge is a new character. Base 3-star goes to 5-star, and again, the base 3-star units are kind of okay and can definitely be useful for certain people, especially newer players. His Trustmaster reward is actually not that great. I think Clake and Tech they're 2 other YouTubers or streamers, and they've kind of concluded that Spirit doesn't actually have a huge effect on healing anyway, but yeah, it's just there in case you need to farm it up anyway, if he's in your party. Again, we'll go into more detail, and that's it for the banner. New units to awaken. As you can see here, Cecil goes to 6 stars now. And Kain, that forgotten character that he topped out at 4 stars, and people pretty much only used him for the Trustmaster reward, Gungnir. He's actually going to go to 5 stars now. The good news is that he's actually a decent character. He has good single target damage. Not that he's great or anything, but I mean, he's an old character. He is a base 3-star. He was easy to get, so they can't make him too good. Rydia, who was largely useless for forever, will actually get some useful skills. She's still not going to be the best or anything like that, but as you'll see, she actually could fit into some parties nicely. Okay, so why don't we go over to the wiki and discuss each character one by one. So Paladin Cecil. My honest opinion about him up to this point is that he has been greatly overrated. Even at 5 stars, it's really hard to see what kind of useful skills he would have. What does he actually bring to the table? I mean, unless you're using Provoke with the Golem 2-star Esper, he doesn't even have any good tanking abilities really. unless you're sitting there defending with him. He has Cura, which by this point is getting a little outdated and obsolete. He didn't really have any good abilities that stuck out, but at 6 stars, not gonna lie, he becomes amazing, and he is going to be one of the top 2 tanks in the future, even in Japan. Basically tied with Warrior of Light, but it kind of depends on what you want his other roles to be. So his statistics, as you can imagine, are good. His really high defense comes with light element resistance naturally, and typical weapon selection, armor selection. None of that changes. So what makes him really good is that, well, besides the passives, HP plus 20, attack plus 20, defense plus 20, he has pretty much all the skills are going to be useful. The main thing that makes him the best tank in the game now is going to be Saintly Wall. You don't have to activate it, or at least I don't think you have to. It's 75% chance to protect party members, so it's not going to be like a 50%. It's not going to be some once in a blue moon kind of thing. It's going to be very, very often, and it doesn't cost any MP, and it also mitigates damage for him so that he can keep tanking, and on top of his already good defensive stats, he's not going to be taking that much damage. Pretty much all his new abilities are going to be great. High Tide, increased limit break gauge fill rate. The reason this is good is because his limit break is actually amazing. If you go down here, it increases attack, defense, spirit by 50% at level 1 for all allies. So this is going to be really good for keeping your party alive on top of his already, tanking for your party. So that's a really good limit burst, and if you can fill it faster, then that's better. His other ability, Focus. Obviously, this is kind of a good counterpart to Cheer. And I think a lot of people already have Cheer on other units, especially Lena. So, if you have a Lena in your party, Cecil's kind of a really good complement to her. So he has good tanking ability, he has good support, he has good, he can fill his limit break gauge, and he gets Curaja. So more than being just a backup healer, he can actually heal your party really well. Unless you're running up against a boss that can one-shot somebody, which is actually going to be pretty tough, especially if Cecil's tanking for them. He can keep them topped off really well, especially if he's coupled with another healer. So as you can see, his new abilities are all amazing. He doesn't get a single dud. So this is why he becomes the best tank in the game. And even when Warrior Light gets his 6 stars, it's going to be a toss-up, depending on what you need. Rydia is a very common unit that was more or less useless because she kind of relies a lot on Esper buffing and stuff like that. But Espers aren't a huge part of the game, I don't think. When the gauge is filled, you're like, yes, it's useful, but it's never really a central part of your strategy. But she does get better. She gets a lot of good passives here, and she actually gets good Aga spells for once. She's no longer stuck at Aura. She gets Bioga, Dandaga, and very, very good is Meteor. This is basically a slightly weaker version of Ultima. Has the same Ignore Spirit attribute, and it's 2.5 instead of 2.8, and it's less MP, so it's a really good spell. It makes her very viable. Still maybe not as good as other mages in the game currently, but she's definitely going to be up there from now on until we really reach the 6-star meta with mages. Once again, her limit burst is about getting the summon gauge up, and you've already heard my thoughts on that. It's kind of useful, but not really, in my opinion, but who knows, I could be wrong about that. So that's Rydia. She finally becomes useful, especially for newer characters, because newer players, I'm sorry, because she's an easy character to get, and she's useful. Kain, again, another character that goes from useless to useful. Not elite or anything, but he gets good attack passives here. He gets ways to increase his jump attacks more. He can increase his auto attack if you don't happen to have a Cheer in your party. He gets a passive boost with a spear, so that's 2 passives already. And he has a good physical damage ability, although it does have a delay. But if you're boosting that with you get a boost from Dragoon Spirit, and then you're also doing that. It's a really good single target attack, albeit a slow one. So if you don't have, a bunch of barrage users or something, Kain can become a really good DPS character for you for single targets. And his limit burst is single target as well. So yeah, he becomes pretty useful and easy to get, obviously. Not elite or anything, but he does have an 85 in Japan, which is respectable. Oh, by the way, Rydia and Kain are both stuck at 5 stars in Japan as well. So maybe not the most feature-proof units, but for how easy it is to get them, it's a good deal. Now, one of the new characters, Edge, is also one of the top, the main 5 characters in the game. At the end, he's another one of those characters that is useful for newer players especially, and not horrible at all. So his weapon selection is pretty limited, but he can use a sword like Enhancer, which would give him good attack and some magic, because he does use magic as well. Smoke is, I've actually grown to like Smoke a little bit more, because if you're doing exploration, you don't want to keep running into enemies and wasting time, then you can just escape quickly. So Maneater, obviously, this is one of the best passives in the game. He has a lot of elemental abilities, single target and multi-target. So he's not going to have the best magic in the game, but it'll come in handy if you can chain it. I heard that, I don't know if it's this coming event or the next one, but it's going to be very useful to have a lot of thunder users. So if you're really pressed for mages, you can actually put Edge in your party. But just don't expect a lot of damage from him, which is actually true to the game as well. He's not the best magic user in the game either, in the real game. And then he has some interesting status inflicting to the enemies, but nothing really stands out as some amazing attack or anything like that. In fact, as far as physical attacks to one enemy, he doesn't really have any good ones. And then Limit Burst, this is his best physical attack, but it's a Limit Burst. It's a single target, and it does 3 random status effects. So it's pretty good, but he is pretty lacking in the physical damage department. As I look at it more, he's probably on the bad side of characters, honestly. I just don't think it's going to be easy to get his magic up enough to make him that useful. He could be situationally useful for the status inflictions. Now, Rosa is another good white mage. Now, I mentioned earlier that it was debatable, Lena could still be better than her. She still has cheer, Rosa doesn't. But the reason Rosa is intriguing to me, other than being a fan of Final Fantasy IV character, is because she has stuff that Lena doesn't have, and I have cheer covered in other characters. So she has Bless, which helps kind of regen MP for all your allies. I don't know if in Global we've had a character that really helps your party to restore MP, which, over a long fight could be very useful. She also has some physical damage abilities, but unless you have, her Trust Mastery bow, it's going to be kind of hard to really make use of that. It's kind of like a backup thing when you have nothing else to do with her turn. Now, she does have Kiraja, as all top white mages do nowadays, which is useful, and Isuna, very important. Dispelga is interesting because it removes all status effects from all enemies. I haven't seen too much use for that quite yet, but another reason I like her is because she has Stona, which, as you know, isn't covered by Isuna. The reason Stona is becoming more important nowadays is because the new advanced Coliseum, a lot of the enemies can actually stone your party. So having a white mage that can cure stone is very useful. I don't think Lena can do that unless she uses like a potion or something like that. So this is one of the reasons why Rosa can be more useful than Lena. She can regen the MP for your party, she can cast Stona, and her Limit Burst is really good. Heals HP and MP. So again, if you're in a long fight and you don't have MP to last you the whole way, having someone like Rosa is really going to help you out. I'm probably going to make her my main healer until Tillith comes out. And last but not least is the first Final Fantasy IV based 6-star. Actually, I shouldn't say that because regular Cecil just got 6-star as well, but he actually doesn't appear on the wiki, so I'm going to have to go to the Ultima site and try to awkwardly navigate through the Japanese. As I mentioned before, he has the second highest attack stat, even in Japan right now. But the problem is he doesn't have a whole lot of obvious useful abilities. Pretty much all of his good damage abilities hurt himself too. So his limit burst hurts himself by 20%, although it has a pretty good multiplier, 3.9. He has a lot of these random things. He's just constantly hurting himself, like 30% here. This is a really good passive, 30% attack. Good defense. He needs it because he's always going to be hurting himself. And Drain Sword, actually, this is a good way to kind of offset some of that damage, but this is going to lower his DPS as well. If you're having to use his damaging abilities and then heal himself the next time and go down to 1.4 multiplier, it's kind of making him less effective in my opinion. I guess he's okay in exploration as well because he's healing himself as he walks. Dark Cannon is the most powerful physical AoE attack in the game, multiplier 2.5, but I mean he's hurting himself for 40%, so that's pretty costly. Again, auto refresh, standard for a 6-star unit. This is magic damage, I don't know why. I can't see a scenario where his magic would be that great. And then Soul Eater, which is his most powerful single target ability. He's hurting himself for 49%, guys. That's almost half his life for a 3.2 multiplier, which is the same as Barrage. So you can see he has a lot of damage potential, but he's just always hurting himself. So I guess if you're behind a really good tank like Paladin Cecil and the boss is using physical attacks or something like that, there is a use for Dark Cecil. If Paladin Cecil's eating up all the damage, then Dark Cecil can just kind of hide behind him and whip out all this damage. But I don't know. In other games, this kind of hurting himself mechanic doesn't play very well overall. So it'll be interesting to see how he does. He's rated an 88 in Japan, which is really low for a 6-star, but he does have his uses. If you get him, you're not going to be unhappy about it, at least until later when there's much better characters. But yeah, pretty underwhelming as a 6-star unit. Don't go hard for him or anything like that. But yeah, those are all the characters I wanted to cover. I guess I'll talk about the event later when I have a little bit more information. So far, it seems like it's definitely exploration based, which is a bummer, but again, we'll find out more as time goes along. But hope this was interesting to you guys. I'm really stoked because I love Final Fantasy IV, and I'm definitely going to have my Paladin Cecil go to 6-star immediately. So you guys, good luck if you're going to pull, and we'll probably, I'll push out another video in the next couple days anyway, but yeah, I'll see you next time.